Hi everyone, welcome along. Part 17 of the Mark IV female tank from Takom in German captured livery. I'm building this in a month, in case you didn't know. I started October the 11th and it's going to be finished November the 11th. And unless you've been living under a rock all your life, you'll know that November the 11th, 2018 is 100 years since the end of the First World War. It's called the Great War. I don't know why, how it can be called a Great War, I don't know. But yeah, so this is in remembrance of all those. And I'm also building a Whippet tank and attempting to finish that on the same day as well. That's pushing it, but I might get it finished as a out of the showroom tank, but weathering and stuff, I don't think I'll get that done in time. So anyway, where are we now? I've weathered these tracks up a bit before I put them on, and I wasn't going to do this, but I thought I'd do a little video on what I've used and tell you how I've done it. I'll do the same on the Whippets, so then I can show you how I've done it on there. But I've never done this before, so I thought I'd give it a go. I think it's worked really, really well. These products here are all say Pro Modeler. They're actually Flory models. He used to call himself Pro Modeler. He had a bit of an argument with Monogram Revell because, as some of you will know, their higher end kits with resin and stuff were called Pro Modeler. Many, many years ago, he had a bit of a legal battle with them and changed his name to Flory Models, being that his name's Phil Flory. But if you notice, the logo is still very similar with the airbrush and everything. So anyway, I've used these products now and again. I bought 4 colours of pigments, of which 3 I've got here. The other one is sand. And I've never used these pigments before. Obviously I've got the MkIV pigments. And when you compare the bottle of MkIV pigments you get to the Flory pigments, there's quite a little bit of difference in size. And when you consider, you open this up, and I mean, these were sealed with sellotape. The first time I've used them is today. And you get that much pigment. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of pigment. It's going to do you many, many models. I don't know if it's the same as the MkIV pigments. It says can be used dry or wet on the front. I don't know. I bought this many, many years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. And I've literally just opened them and used them for the first time. Now, as you'll know, in my last video, I used the Flory weathering wash to get an initial dirty staining on the tracks. And then I remembered I had this stuff today, so I thought what I'll do is I'll wet them with this again and then bang this on. And what I've done is used the weathering wash to sort of stick the pigments in. Now, how resilient they're going to be when it all dries out, I don't know, but actually putting it on, it kind of makes it stick to the surface, and then you can sort of work around with it. Now, you'll see I've got rust here. I do not paint tracks with rust colour. Tank tracks do not rust in use. What I've done is used it here as an odd patch of the red colour just to give some tonal difference over the length of the track. Now, this is going to be backed off because I think even now that's a little bit too much. But I've gone over it again with some of the mud brown. And he does this green earth colour as well, which, I mean, I'll show you a little bit here. It's bloody wonderful. It's like a RLMO2 grey-green colour, but I'll just put, look at the state of this brush now, look what it's done to it. I'll just dab some of that on here and I'll show you what you can do with it. It's really good. So you can see I've got some on there now, and if I just work it in, you can use it just as you would any other pigment, and there it is, just brushed in, and it's had some lightness. Now I can go over with some of the darker residue I've got here and sort of darken it up a bit, or I can go in with a wash now, and I mean, I could use some of this wash. I mean, I'm assuming that these pigments are very similar to the pigments that are in the wash, so I'm not really worried about mixing up the brush with it. Yeah, if I dry the brush off a bit, I can dab this on here and then pick up some of this and dab it in, and you know, you can see you can just mess with this to your heart's content, and it doesn't really build up any thick layers to destroy any detail. You know, it's got no solvents in it, so it's not going to attack your plastic parts. You know, I can remove some of that red there now, look. But I mean, if you did want to do an abandoned tank and have rusty tracks, then you can see just how good this is. But as you can see, when it's wet, it sort of maneuvers around and you can play with it and everything. But yeah, there you go there. And yeah, it's I think it looks quite impressive this is my first ever attempt playing with these pigments, and yeah, I'm really chuffed. So I know they're still available. I'm not sure if the same colours are still available. I'm not even sure if he still uses the same formula. I'm not a member of his site, and you know, not being a member is quite restrictive in sort of finding out what all this stuff does, I think. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. But yeah, so I'm really chuffed with that. So if you know Phil Flory, or on his site or whatever, please message him and let him know that Nigel's Modelling Bench, here I am, and I'm promoting his products for him because yeah, I think they're really good. I really do think they're really good. I mean, they're probably no better, or even not maybe as good, I don't know, as the MkIV pigments, but all I know is when you've got this much to play with as opposed to this much, I know which one I'd rather experiment with, and I'll bet they cost about the same per tub. That's just a guess. So right, that's that done. I'll get these tracks on now. See you in a minute. Right, I just want to show you something. I'm playing here. This is Pro Modeler Mud Brown Wash. It's actually from Flory Models. Wash. It's not a wash. It's a pigment, but it can be used as a wash. The difference with this stuff and the MkIV, I've discovered completely by accident, is it dissolves in water. So you don't have all the worries about harsh chemicals and everything, and the turpentine. You must never use turpentine, but the enamel thinners or the odorless thinners damaging the paint or starting to move you know, some washes or filters you've already put on. And I've discovered, I've just been having a little play with trying to apply some mud, and I don't want to cake this thing in mud, because looking back at some history, this particular tank was captured by the Germans, taken away, painted and everything, brought back into service, and in a very, very short time, I can't find the actual time frame, but it was a very, very short time, it was recaptured by the French. So in this German livery, I can only assume it wouldn't have got extremely dirty. Now, if it went into the Western Front, like in Passchendaele, where it was just a quagmire, then it would have been absolutely plastered, but it would have probably sunk and been unrecoverable within about 5 minutes. So let's just assume, you know, bit of artistic license here, I'm assuming it's been a lovely long, you know, summer, a period of 3 or 4 weeks with no rain, and the fields are just dusty, and you know, there's a few muddy puddles about, but nothing too much, and there's more dust than anything. So, you know, I've given the top a good sort of coating of dust, and the tracks are brown and dusty, and there's some varying tones of dirt on them, but there's no real caked on mud. I don't want to just plaster this thing in mud. I don't think it's accurate. I mean, I've seen some of these tanks modelled with leaves on them. Well, you know, if you look at the videos that are available of the Western Front and everything, there weren't many trees about. In fact, there was nothing. This awful bloody sight, but you know. So anyway, I just want to add some mud. So if I just zoom you in here, you can see that what I've done around these bearing tracks here is, with the washes and the filters, I've sort of let some stain build up on the top, but it's not really enough. You know, even in a dry, dusty environment, this would have got dirtier. And what I did, I started taking some of this pigment, this mud brown, and started brushing it on. And I thought, well, I'm not really getting the effect I want. It just looks like a build up of dust. So I'm off the camera, aren't I? Sorry, guys. I'm just getting like a build up of dust, and I don't think that's really sufficient. So I thought, I wonder what it's like wet. So I started wetting it, and I realised that it just becomes like a wash. And of course, because you've used water, you can, all I'm doing here is dipping the brush in water, drying it off on my jeans, and then stroking down. and because it's water, it's not going to affect the underlying layers of washes or filters or anything. So you can see that if you want a sort of dirty brown wash, there you go, you've got it. But I don't want that. So take a cotton bud, just wipe it over, and it's gone. You know, and what I've done there is left some mud in the corners. So that whenever if I wet it and then add some of this, so I'll wet it in the area I want it to be muddy, and I'll just work on this bit that's on the camera for now. And the beauty of this is you could put this down, go and have your lunch, come back and start wetting it again, and away you go. It's not like oils and stuff where it's going to set. So there we go, I'm plastering that on now, and you can see that straight away as soon as I start rubbing this on, it dissolves in the water, so it becomes like a brown sort of paste, and the more you put on, the thicker it becomes. And you can see I'm starting to get a build up of like a muddy texture there now. And if you notice as well, I'm not really wasting any, it's not all falling off because it's wet. So I've got this build up of mud there now. Now get the brush fairly dry on my jeans and just brush down, and you get this kind of, you know, mud running down or whatever, and then you can stipple it and change the level of it. So you can have it going higher here, and then you can bring it down here and sort of push it up into that corner, and it's pretty much like using the weathering products, the enamel stuff, but you're just using water instead, and it's really nice. You know, I want to add some more in there, so I'll add some more in there and then get some water and brush it away. And of course the other thing is, because it's water, once it's dried, if I don't like it, just get at it with a Q-tip and start rubbing it away. If you like it how it is, then perhaps give it a quick coat of matte varnish. You know, if you remember, I did those oils and I went a bit mad with the colours to try and show you what I do. Here I've got a bit of a green spot, which isn't very realistic. So I'm just going to wet this area and then come along with some of this pigment, brush it in, slap it on, as Ted would say. I hope he's getting better. If you don't know who Ted is, if you look at the E-Models live streams, Ted's the guy who's built the 16th scale tank, and he's doing the 48th scale sub, and he's a great guy. He's a great guy. But at the moment he's not very well. I don't know what's wrong with him. Nobody's really discussing that, but he's in hospital, I think. And get well soon, Ted. Get yourself out of that bloody place. So anyway, here we go. So that's, you know, you may not think that's a very professional look. Let's come out. Oops, wrong way again. You may not think that's a very professional look. But on the other side, I think it's probably almost dry by now. You can see that I've added this mud, and I've also added it along this shelf here. And if I sort of don't like that stainy bit there, I can just get a Q-tip and just rub it away, and it also leaves a sort of dirty stain behind. It's not completely gone. And I can't be honest, I've never really used these flory pigments very much. Let's just bring you back out. I went the right way for the first time. But you know, I really like these. It's so much nicer to work like this than it is with the odorless thinners and stuff, because if I'd done that, if I'd come back after, I don't know, I probably did that 10-15 minutes ago with a cotton swab soaked in odorless thinners, it would have removed the washes and stuff behind it. So it's impressive stuff. I'm really pleased with the way that looks. It may not be accurate. I mean, you probably have more mud build up along the bottom than I've got, but it's a model. I'm trying to make it look dirty and used and dusty and filthy, but without, I mean, I could cake it all in mud. I may as well just get a block of wood, carve it into this, you know, what's the shape called? Parallelogram shape, and plaster it in mud. You know, I may as well, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this. So I'll get the other side done. I'll be back in a sec. So then, here she is, finished. Comma. As far as I'm concerned, this is finished. Other than those steel rails over the top, I do not know what to do, how to weather them, how to make them look accurate. So I'm going to say this is finished now, because to all intents and purposes it is. It's weathered, it's built, it's 100% there, all the decals are on, it's painted. As far as I'm concerned, this is finished, but I do need to do some work on those rails, and I don't know what to do. Hopefully I'm going to make it to Telford this weekend. Hopefully I'll find somebody displaying some beautiful models, and I'll have one of these with the look at exactly what I want to do, and I can ask them how they did it. I'm not one of these who goes and buys. There's probably an AK product. It's probably a kit of about 5 different products that's specifically designed for painting and weathering the rails on a German captured Mark IV tank, and there's probably another set for the English, and there's probably another set for a French captured from the Germans captured Mark IV tank. I'm not buying any of that. I'm going to look at using standard stuff, and when I do, I'll show you guys how I do it. So basically, yeah, you've seen the last little snippet with the ply in the mud. I'm really impressed with how that's come out. You know, I've got 4 of those flory pigments. I've never used them, and here we go. On this model, I've used them exclusively on the tracks. I've used them on the beam at the back, and I've used them on the mud at the sides, and I'm really pleased with the result. And what I really like about it is the fact that if I don't like that mud now, that could be gone in 5 minutes. Wet brush, Q-tip, gone. So yeah, really chuffed about that. Really happy with how the beam came out. Did my old thing, you know, with the razor saw for the wood, and yeah, and then attacked it with some washes and browns and everything. Just noticed I need to add some mud to the insides here, don't I? So yeah, I haven't gone for that really just boggy old, completely plastered in mud look. I don't want that look. I want the sort of, you know, been around for 3 or 4 hours look. So yeah, so there we have it. Today it's November the, what is it today? November the 8th. I'm really chuffed that I got this done. I was wondering if I was ever going to, if it hadn't been for the tracks, it would have probably been finished 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I was beginning to wonder if it was ever going to get done, and I hadn't realised, because I don't ever bloody finish anything, I hadn't realised that actually this painting and weathering malarkey takes longer than building the thing. And but I must be honest, I've always been a builder. I'm not really much of a painter, but I have really enjoyed every bit of this kit, other than the tracks. But it's a funny thing. You kind of moan about it and you say you don't enjoy it, but it's such a buzz when you get them finally done. All that work, I mean, what was it, 2,000 sprue nibs or something, 1,900 sprue nibs or something, you know, absolutely ridiculous. That's 1,900 sprue gates cleaned up with sanding sticks, 1,000 parts cut off with 1,000 parts, 2,000 sprue nibs cut off with your side cutters, you know, and then each link 5 parts assembled in that lovely little jig. And yeah, and it's so satisfying when you get to the end of it. So I'm really chuffed. If you notice there as well, I've put some black soot around the back end where the exhaust comes out, and it would have affected the beam as well, if you can see that up around here. But yeah, on the whole, you know, I want to thank you guys, because if it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't have finished this. You know, it's just that one guy that commented on here that I never finish anything and I really should, and he's dead right. I don't finish anything, and I should, and I have, and I'm really glad I have. So yeah, thanks very much. if you've got any tips for me, positive, negative, then just stick them in the comments. You know, if there's something I should add to this or take away, just let me know. And bear in mind, it's not a mud plastered bogged down mess. It's covered in dust, brought out on a lovely beautiful July afternoon, and not seen very much combat. Alright, so one other thing, this is my 100th video. 100 videos to recognise 100 years since that awful war. And you know, really great this worked out like this, really, isn't it? So I've just noticed I need to add some more pigments in here, don't I? Because that's all bright and colourful. It shouldn't be. It should be dirty. So maybe it's not finished yet. Well, let's say it's finished for this video anyway. So thanks for watching. Thanks for being my inspiration. And please stay tuned for more vids, more builds, more tips and tricks, and more reviews. I want to get on with some wing nut wing stuff now, I think. Although I really do fancy building a German A7V. I was watching a documentary, and you know, this thing is amazing when you think it had a crew of 8. The A7V had 16 to 22 people in it, apparently. You know, for God's sake. I mean, and it never dawned on me until I saw another documentary, and they said, you know, it was actually wonderful. If you hit one out, it was great. You took the tank out, but then you had like 16 to 20 people to deal with afterwards that were on rifles and guns and stuff. So you don't kind of think of that aspect of it. But anyway, I'm waffling now. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And thank you to my 212 subscribers. I love you all. And yeah, please tell your friends and just keep watching and keep liking. And I'll see you soon for the next project. Bye.